Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Hi, my name is Aisja Davis. I am a certified licensed teacher in the state of North Carolina. And today I'm going to be talking about the topic of what school system is best for you and your family. All right, there are three types of school systems. The first one is called private school. The second one, public school, and lastly, homeschool. So I'm going to be discussing the three differences and how they are different and the challenges and benefits of both. Okay, so a little background information on myself. I am a certified licensed teacher. I've been working in the public school system for about, I would say, 10 plus years now, between my internship, field experience, and of course, being a professional licensed teacher. I kind of see the ins and outs more than the average person of the public school system. I also was homeschooled, so that is another background of myself. I was homeschooled from 9th through 12th grade, and of course I switched over to community college right after that, and then on to university. What I loved about being in homeschool is the fact that I was in charge of my own learning. The first year, my mom kind of held my hand a little bit and gave me a little bit of structure, but after that, I was able to basically learn and teach myself so many different other skills that I think I'm definitely using today, and that makes me the woman I am today. And of course, private school. I've also been in private school. Private school, it was okay. I was in more of a religious based private school, and I do notice that there's a lot of different things within the private school. Well, in my personal experience with it was okay, but I feel like more of a negative connotation when I was in that particular private school. But I know there's a bunch of other great quality private schools out there that have great resources and great curriculums and great student to teacher ratios that makes it an asset for families. And of course, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm just kind of give you the background of where I came from when it comes to those three schools. And of course, they all have their benefits and they all have their challenges. So let's go ahead and talk about first public school. So public school is a government funded school system where basically the whole school is based off of standard course of studies for that county that you live in, and or not the county, but the actual state that you live in. And from these standards, your county picks the curriculum for the group of students, right? So the good thing about public school is, hey, it's free, right? You can go, doesn't matter what your income level is, you can basically sign up and it's free for most people. Okay, there is a lot of times schools do have fees that they don't discuss really, and the school fees go to things like art, music, instruments, borrowing laptops if your child is in a school that gives out laptops, things like that. So there is a fee, and like my county, we have a $25 fee, and a lot of times, depending on your income, you can actually get those fees waived. So that's the cool thing about the little fee thing. But for the most part, it's pretty much free. And the only time you really have to pay anything is if your child goes on a field trip, or if your child has some type of special event, like if they're having a party or something like that and they want to participate, little things like that. But you're not going to fork out a lot of money for your child to just simply attend school. Now, in the public school system, the downside is that there are so many kids to one teacher. From K through 3rd, the cap, I believe, is about 21 students per teacher, right? And you're talking about 21 bodies in a classroom to one teacher. So you're going to get a lot of whole group instruction. There's not going to be a lot of time for small group instruction, and that can pose a challenge because especially if your child needs that one-on-one help or that small group help, it's not going to be provided for them as much. Also, a lot of times teachers do not have the time or the space or the capacity to teach your child in-depthly, right? So it also depends on the type of teacher that your child has. With the public school system, it's the luck of the draw, basically. So one year your child might have a magnificent teacher and your child grows and they get, they understand the content a lot better. Their reading, their math is on point. But then you go to then the next year your child could have a teacher that really doesn't care and is kind of lazy when it comes to the curriculum. And all they do is just follow the curriculum. That's it. They're not doing really intensive instruction. And a lot of times, in the public school system, yes, the principal is involved in making sure that the teachers are doing what they're supposed to do, but there's only so much time they can do that. So honestly, they're just trusting that you, as an educator, are going to put your best foot forward and make sure that those kids are taught in the best capacity, in the best way possible. And honestly, the only kids that really do super, super well in public school are ones that are individually driven. So those kids that just naturally love to learn and naturally love to do amazing jobs. Or two, those kids that are basically have really, really good, the best parental involvement within their education. Those types of children tend to do a lot better in public school. Also, the type of child that doesn't do very well in school is one that's not self-driven, one that is easily influenced by other kids. So maybe in the school system, your child was doing awesome before they hit to kindergarten, first grade, and all of a sudden they started going to kindergarten, first grade, and they start acting like they start acting insane because they're like, they're influenced by other people in their classrooms. And I'm actually seeing that this year. I teach third grade, and I'm actually seeing that this year, how my group of kids this year, they're more in tune to following one another. So if one person is misbehaving, the others tend to misbehave, and it's like a whole chain reaction. So of course you have to deal with that as well. And last but not least, I think that you don't have as much, in public school, you don't have as much control over what your child is learning. So of course there's been a lot of things in the media and so forth about certain types of indoctrination and things like that coming into the classroom that doesn't need to be there, right? And I'm going to go a little bit depth on that a little later on a different video. But overall, I guess the benefits, I'm going to go back over the benefits of public school. If you want free public schooling, if you want your child to be in a diverse learning environment with multiple people from different cultures, if you want your child to be, if you're okay with your child being in a classroom with 21 plus students, and basically, it just depends on the type of learning environment you want for your child. Mind you, when they get to fourth grade and up, those groups, there's no cap. Okay, let's also put that in there. When your child hits fourth grade, right, there is no cap. So if there's 40 students, there could literally be 40 students in your child's class, and they're gonna have to just muddle through. And at that point, if you notice, especially if you kind of follow the public school system's data on assessments and so forth, there's like a steep drop that happens. So third grade, they kind of do pretty okay, average to okay, or maybe even above average depending on your county. But then as they get to fourth and fifth grade, it tends to decline. So whereas in third grade, they might have got a 70% in their reading and math assessments, right? In fourth grade, they're more tend to be like 50s and 60s tends to be the norm. And then when you get to fifth grade, we're talking about 40% and 50% tends to be the norm when it comes to assessments. So if you're kind of even looking at the data itself, and I'm also going to kind of pull that up probably on a different video as well, I think it has a lot to do with how lawmakers don't have a cap for those higher grades. And I don't know if it's because they're about to go into middle school, and of course they're dealing with more kids. I'm not sure. I'll have to do my research on that. But I just see my personal experience, I just see a steep decline in that data when it comes to when students are in public school. All right, so that's public school. Now, private school is a little differently, because private school has private funders or families that actually drive the income of the private school. So in private school, it's going to be smaller class sizes. It's going to be maybe better equipment. And you're probably going to have, teachers that can actually service about 5 to 10 kids in a classroom. All right. So it's going to be a lot smaller, more community. And with private school, of course, the only thing about that is when parents are in charge of a school, their incentive is to basically please the parents. So they're going to do whatever the parents say regardless. In public school, that parents do have a say, but they don't have as much say as they think they do. But private school, they're run by the parent dollars, right? So they're going to do whatever it takes to make sure that the parents are okay. And I've heard, especially in private schools, there is some type of elitism that happens, depending on like what parents are able to fund the school more and things like that. So we're going to go on maybe a deep dive on private schools, especially since I personally have never taught in one. I've only been in one. And it was just an interesting experience because my parents were paying all this money for me to go to private school. And I was in private school, I would say, what was it, preschool all the way up until second grade. And I couldn't read. So how am I in private school and getting this more one-on-one help? I promise you there was only 5 students in the classroom, but I couldn't read. So that's one thing. I guess that is one downside I would say about private school, is that make sure you, well, that was in my case, but I'm just going to say make sure that you research how that private school is performing at an academic level. Right. And I guess the good benefits is also if you're going to a private school such as, I do have Christian values. So if my child is going to a Christian private school, then that is amazing. Right. I'm making sure that my values are taught to my child, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. However, some private schools, I'm not going to say all, some private schools, they push the values more and Christian principles, which is amazing. But then they kind of leave the child out to dry when it comes to academics, right? So then even when the child leaves and they go to, for example, a private school or high school or somewhere where they have to, because some of these private schools only go up to 8th grade, right? So they have to go to a public school eventually. Or even if you just wait till community college and the child goes to private school from K through 12, the problem is they're not as competitive sometimes, right? Or again, there are some really, really good private schools, like Ivy League private schools, where they know what the child needs to succeed in academics and so forth after they leave the private school. So it just depends. Make sure you do your research, right? I would just say if you're doing private schools, make sure you do your research. And it wasn't just me, because it's crazy. Later on down the line, I ended up taking a tutored I tutored a child who was, I would say he was in 2nd grade at the time, and I tutored him from 2nd grade all the way up to middle school. And the child could not read either. And he went to the same private school I did. Insane. So I'm not going to say that that's how all of them work. I'm just saying do your research when it comes to private schools. And, so I guess they tend to have better equipment and things like that. Geared community toward your values. That's a good thing. But same thing for public school. I think public and private, make sure you do your research. If someone else is going to be teaching your child, do your due diligence and make sure you're involved. I know it's crazy because a lot of the parents that are involved at my school, their children are on point. Okay, they're passing, they're doing what they need to do in my classroom. Comprehension is up. They're at least at grade level. But the ones that you can kind of tell that they're kind of just doing their best just by themselves, or maybe they're just happen to be naturally bright, don't even do as well. Even if it's a gifted student, right? I have a gifted student right now, but I can tell that gifted student's parents are not as involved. He just started declining out of nowhere simply because he doesn't have that support system. So if I can tell any parents that have their child in or is thinking about having their child join public or private school, do your due diligence about the school. Make sure you know your child's teacher. Make sure you have your child's teacher's class dojo or number on standby. Make sure you're getting involved in completing your child's homework. And not just that, but also I think a lot of times parents think, oh, well, the school systems, they got them. I don't got to do nothing. You're your child's first teacher. Always remember that. You are the person that your child looks up to. They value your opinion. They value your values. They look at your actions. So no matter if your child's going to school for 8 hours a day, or whatever the case may be, they're always going to say, okay, what does my mom think? Or what does my dad think, right? Or what does my family think? So it's important for you to continually be involved. And even if, and just kind of give them some leadway. Summertime is a great thing because a lot of people are off during the summers. Use that summertime to homeschool your kids technically, right? So when I say homeschool, brush them up on different things that should be on their grade level. Get some workbooks for them, right? Or just take them out into nature, take them places and be a part of that learning process. Help those children gain more of a critical thinking mindset. So with that being said, I think parents need to realize that, hey, if you're not teaching your child, somebody else will. And then don't be upset when all of a sudden it reels its head when they become, and mainly reels its head when they become adolescents, right? So when they start going through puberty and when they're in high school and they start being even 10 to 20 times more defiant, it's almost, I'm not gonna say it's too late, but it's almost too late because they're like, okay, well, they taught me this, and I guess the school system is where that I can get my answers from. So make sure that you are the first person where your child gets their answers from, right? There are some organizations trying to shut out parent voices, and That's not okay. At the end of the day, they're your children, right? So I would just say, make sure you do your due diligence and make sure that you become your child's first teacher. All right? Become your child's first teacher. So that was my little rant. And then last but not least, homeschool. I'm not gonna lie, y'all. I'm for homeschool than anything else. I'm not gonna lie. Even me being a public school person, and this is the reason. Number one, you gain amazing one-on-one relationship with your children that wouldn't have been forged otherwise, right? You have more than time with your child to mold them and help them through this learning process and teaching them your values and teaching them, basically giving them opportunities to really go above and beyond the bar when it comes to education. And their education doesn't have to be in a box either, guys. You have so many different things. I'm already like researching now about homeschool opportunities and things like that. And there's just so many things they can do. They can go to robotics, coding, just a plethora of different types of things. Now, of course, you are going to have to put in more time and you might have to make some sacrifices if you're homeschooling. So, of course, if you have a 2-parent household and both of you guys work, one of you might have to, drop off and teach the kids while the other one goes to work, and you have to live on one income, and budgeting. And honestly, sometimes you just have to make some sacrifices, and those sacrifices are worth it at the end of the day, guys. It is worth it. All right. When I was homeschooled, and this was back when African Americans weren't even homeschooled like that. Like, well, okay, I'm not gonna lie. When I was homeschooled back in like 2008 to 2011, bruh, I maybe saw one African American homeschool family. Maybe. That was rare. Majority of them were Caucasian, right? So that was like a typical thing back in the day, for Caucasians to homeschool their child. And I'm sure there was probably way more, but in my area where I lived in North Carolina, there was barely anybody. But do you think my mom cared? She didn't care. She was like, look, we're gonna do what we're gonna do. Back then we used the PACE program, and PACE, it was very much a student-led curriculum. So my mom helped me through the first year. I did the second year. But then after that, I was like learning all sorts of stuff. I taught myself how to type, Mavis Beacon. I was learning about all different kinds of things. We would watch Dr. Oz for health and all sorts of random stuff. We would go on random field trips that I've never been on, and who knows where, like nature trails, and we had a little homeschool prom. It was cool. I'm not gonna lie, it was an amazing experience. And then during that time, honestly, I wasn't really close with my mom. I was more close with my dad back in the day because he was the one that always picked me up from public school or private school, whatever. And me and my mom, we forged a bond that is unbreakable to this day. Like every day I talk to my mom, and that's simply because she homeschooled me and because she sacrificed her career, I would say, to teach her children and to teach me the values it has. So even when I did go to community college and maybe, college days, like, partying or whatever the case may be, I came out of that and became my mom, basically. So a woman who is going to be homeschooling her children in the near future, and I'm super excited about it, and I cannot wait to take you guys on the journey with me. Sorry, I'm over here going into like memory lane here, but homeschool has so many different benefits. Now the downside is the socialization factor. So if you have kids, their siblings are basically going to be their classmates, okay? And that's not a bad thing. I'm not gonna lie, it's not a bad thing. However, it just depends on like how far along, because me and my brother, we're 5 years apart, so we weren't even on the same page. Like when he was doing second grade stuff, not second grade, let's see. He was in middle school. He was like elementary school. So he was like late elementary school, and I'm over here in high school. So it just we wasn't in the same path, so we really couldn't. I mean, now that I think about it, I could have been teaching him different things to kind of get him ahead when it comes to different content, and using those older children to help teach the younger children. However many children you have, I'm just assuming. But if they're in the similar age group, like if they're within, like, I would say 0 to 3 or 0 to 4 years apart, I guess it's not too bad. But either way, now that I know the things I know now, guess what? No matter what age gap my kids are in, they're going to be teaching each other, okay? They're going to be like, look, little Susie, you good at calculus? All right, go ahead and teach him. I'm over here struggling a little bit. So, and guys, that's how it is in my classroom as well. Like, I'll try to nail a content to my students, and I'm like, I'm just not getting to them. I was like, all right, little James, can you please go help little Susie out with this particular content. He's like, okay, Miss Davis, I'll go. And then they go over there and they teach them, and then all of a sudden they know it. Like, children are teachers too, and they are so much more smart and capable of more than we can even think of. Okay, so I would say, I'm not gonna lie, maybe I hyped up homeschool a little bit more, but the only thing is, of course, sacrificing maybe of finances, sacrificing time, okay, time or your career. And I would say the socialization factor. But other than that, the world is your oyster. Whatever you want your child to learn, they can learn. It don't matter. Bro, there's no limit. All right. And of course, I am Christian, of course. So I've already prayed to God. I'm like, look, God, they about to be Bereans. They about to be all up in this Bible. Okay, they about to be knowing their books of the Bible by heart. They about to be knowing all these scriptures. Okay, and they're gonna learn how to search the scriptures for answers. That's basically the goal, basically, when it comes to biblical studies. And that's gonna be the first thing that we do in the morning: prayer, worship, Bible study, and teaching the kids to be Bereans. Then after that, we'll go ahead and put in the education things. And I want my kids to, number one, be critical thinkers, right? I want them to be able to be problem solvers. I want them to be innovators. Maybe even give them a little entrepreneur lessons early. Okay, learn how to, hey, like, you don't have to follow the system if you don't want to. I'll show you the system. You can follow if you want to, but you don't have to, right? And then number 3, being lifelong learners, guys. If you could teach your child to be an independent thinker and an independent learner, where when they see a problem or issue, they want to go about their own way to learn it on their own, you ain't gotta worry about them, okay? They have a problem, they're gonna figure it out, right? And I want my children to be able to figure things out on their own. So, and homeschool is so amazing, and I'm so excited to share my journey with you guys, especially other homeschool families. And guys, even if this is not, maybe homeschool is not your thing right now, I'm not saying that private school or public school isn't good options. They're all good options, depending on like what your value systems are, or what you want to take out of it. But I'm just saying, something about homeschool, it builds the kids a little different. I'm not gonna lie. Like, when I was after being homeschooled, college was nothing. College was actually easier than my high school year. Like, I say that all the time. Like, college was easy after being homeschooled in high school. Like, it was a walk in the park, because guess what? I didn't need my professor to tell me nothing. I didn't need my professor to tell me to do anything either. And a lot of times these children are used to adults, whether that be in public school system or whatever, holding their hand through everything. So when they get to community college, or if they get to college, they're in shock. They're not used to not someone being on them saying, you need to do your work, you need to do your work, you need to do your work. I already knew what work was. So it was just amazing. Well, anyway, I don't want to long-wind this video. Thank you guys so much for your time. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? What type of school system are you putting your children in, and why? Go ahead and tell me in the comments below. All right. Thank you so much, guys. And I will see you guys soon. Out. Miss Davis is out. Oh, and don't remember, I was about to pick the pause button, but like, comment, and subscribe for more content. It's coming, y'all. Bye-bye.